It was the sound, God, I'll never forget it, that made me realize the battle lines had been drawn. Imagine this, a $1,200 pair of Italian stilettos vanishing into mud with a slurp so loud it cut through the morning like a punchline. I'm standing there on my porch, coffee in hand, watching the Queen of Oakwood Heights Homeowners Association, Eleanor Sterling herself, sink into the earth, shrieking about community assets, while 40 strangers pile off 3 giant charter buses behind her, thinking they're here for a family-friendly day at the lake. Spoiler alert, they were about to learn just how private property can be. Now, Eleanor wasn't just any neighbor. She was the kind of person who'd treat the Geneva Convention like a brunch menu, order what she likes, ignore the rest. And there she was, ankle-deep in muck, barking at me across my own shoreline, her voice wobbling with a rage so pure it was almost impressive in a deranged way. She called me a selfish relic, said I was clinging to the past like it was a lifeboat while the rest of the world moved on. But here's where she screwed up. She mistook my quiet for weakness. Rookie mistake. Just because a guy likes his mornings slow and his coffee hot doesn't mean he doesn't know which wires to cut if someone tries to burn down his house. But honestly, to understand why a 52-year-old ex-electrician would go to war over a lake, you gotta understand this dirt. My dirt. This isn't just land, it's sweat and family and every hard-earned penny my granddad Silas had in 1962 when all this was just weeds and a wild hope. He spent 15 years digging that lake plank by plank, hand by calloused hand. Every board in that dock, every scar on that old oak tree, our initials are still there. That's my legacy, right there by the water's edge, standing guard. I'm Arthur Vance, by the way. Spent 3 decades fixing high voltage for people who thought flicking a breaker was rocket science. You learn pretty quick that when you smell smoke, you don't panic. You follow it to the source, kill the current, save the whole damn building. I sold my business, came back home thinking I'd spend my days fishing, breathing in pine needles, running my hands over old wood. You know, peace. But then Oakwood Heights cropped up overnight like mold on bread. 47 McMansions retirees with more money than sense, believing you could buy a lakeside life off a brochure. For a while, we managed a sort of Cold War. Polite waves, nervous glances at property lines, everyone pretending not to mind. Until Eleanor moved in 3 years ago. 60 maybe real estate lawyer from LA, always in a spotless white Mercedes that got more TLC than her own mother. She bullied her way into HOA presidency before anyone knew what hit them, suddenly terrorizing neighbors over unsanctioned mailbox colors and garbage cans left out 5 minutes too long. Thing is, my deed outdates the HOA by decades. Never signed their rules, never had to. My lake, my life, my problem legally, morally, spiritually. And for a while, Eleanor didn't know what to do with that. Until she decided to start a war. It started with a fake smile. She sashayed up to my fence one day, talking about mosquitoes and declining property values, demanding I install a $15,000 filtration system. I explained like she was a kid that spring-fed water doesn't breed mosquitoes. She wasn't listening. That was the switch. Suddenly, I wasn't a neighbor. I was a problem to be solved. Within 2 days, the anonymous complaints began. County health inspectors at my door before sunrise apologizing while they poked around and told me, Mr. Vance, whoever called this in is either blind or pulling your leg. Meanwhile, Eleanor is standing there behind them, arms folded, face red, demanding retests whenever the answers didn't suit her. She didn't care about truth. She wanted war by attrition, drown me in paperwork, hope I'd tire out and roll over. Next came the certified letters. Fat stacks of legal gibberish accusing me of violating made-up agreements and obligations. But see, that's the thing about folks like me. We're good at finding the weak link in a chain. I spent nights at the county office tracing her name. Turns out back in California, her license was under review, fancy talk, for she'd been caught lying about property rights. So I doubled down. Security cameras, legal notices, every inch of my land marked and watched. Then a curveball. Inspector Miller, the county guy, calls me whispering that Eleanor had tried to bribe him $2,000 in cash to fudge his report. That's not a neighbor dispute anymore. That's a felony. This was officially a crime scene. That night I sat on my dock with the ghosts of old men. Realized Eleanor wasn't trying to be annoying, she was desperate. Checked the property values, everyone's went up except hers. Turns out she was deep in debt. Second mortgage, maxed out lines of credit, you name it. Her only shot at survival: win community access to my lake, jack up her house price, and bail herself out. She was ready to steal my legacy to pay her bills. Her next move, a town hall urgent meeting about water resource management. Didn't invite me. Lucky for me, Mrs. Higgins, the 78-year-old queen of neighborhood gossip, tipped me off. I walked into that meeting just in time to see Eleanor presenting some forged 1955 fishing agreement, complete with my granddad's signature. Except minor detail, the document referenced environmental regulations that didn't exist for another 2 decades, and GPS coordinates that weren't invented until Reagan was president. I didn't yell. I just plugged my phone into the projector and showed everyone the real history: survey maps, construction photos, deed dates. The silence that followed, you could hear reputations dying. Eleanor turned gray but doubled down anyway, threatening lawsuits, saying she'd bankrupt me in court. And boy did she try. Hired a surveyor so crooked he couldn't draw a straight line. If you spotted him, a ruler. His map placed my lake somewhere between this universe and the next. Then the trespassers started, strangers showing up with fishing gear picnics, quoting Eleanor's pending court order. I met them with legal notices, snapped their plates, and set my motion-activated sprinklers to blast them straight off the dock. I'll tell you, there's a special joy in watching a grown man run from cold water cussing in a $300 vest. But defense is only half the game. I called in Diana West, a real surveyor forensic specialist. She took one look at the phony map and burst out laughing, called it hallucinated geometry. I started building a team. Mrs. Higgins for the Gossip Network, my grandson Leo for drone surveillance, Ethan, the local reporter, Olivia Reed, a property lawyer with teeth sharper than a pit bull's. Then came the twist. One day I caught Eleanor at the county office talking to a developer on the phone, pitching him my land, my granddad's land, as a luxury subdivision. She promised him she'd force a sale tank my property value with lawsuits, and the old fool will give up when he can't take it anymore. She confessed she owed California almost $400,000. If she didn't close this deal, she'd lose everything: her house, her license, maybe even her freedom. It was clear this wasn't about a lake. It was about one woman trying to eat the world to save herself. I realized I couldn't just win, I had to end it. So we set a trap. I announced the Silas Vance Veterans Memorial Fishing Tournament. Invited local news, offered cash prizes, basically hung a neon sign for Eleanor: crash this party if you dare. We posted trespassing notices every 50 feet, set up hidden cameras in birdhouses, and Leo flew the drone overhead, catching every move in glorious 4K. Tournament morning. The lake was perfect. Glass water, veterans swapping stories, kids running around. Then came Eleanor, leading 3 buses of investors down my driveway, shouting that community rights overrode private events, waving a manila folder stuffed with her fake court orders. These people trampled my flowers, pushed past the veterans, dragging coolers and folding chairs onto my dock, acting like they owned the place. All on camera. News crews were rolling. The whole disaster broadcast live. I let it roll for 20 minutes, let her dig her own grave before I nodded to Detective Mike Henderson, sitting quietly with a fishing pole. When he flashed his badge, Eleanor turned the color of skim milk. She tried every trick, claiming she was an attorney representing the group, then calling me unstable, even admitting on a live mic that she wanted me out for the greater good. Cops cleared out the trespassers. Eleanor was left standing alone in a cloud of diesel and disappointment. She'd just confessed to fraud on TV and to a cop. But a wounded animal, you know, is always dangerous. She struck back. Next day, glossy flyers on every doorstep painting me as a gun-toting lunatic, warning families to keep away. She called the VA, tried to get my benefits suspended, called my old clients, whispering that I'd lost my mind. I'll be real with you, that hurt. Folks who used to wave now looked the other way. Moms pulled their kids close. But what she didn't know was Olivia, my lawyer, was building a RICO case. Racketeering, mail fraud, wire fraud, the big guns. We just needed one last nail for the coffin. Eleanor delivered. She reached out to Councilwoman Baker, hoping to bribe her for help in seizing my land under eminent domain. Baker, bless her, was already working with the feds. We recorded the whole dinner, Leo with his parabolic mic, FBI agents posing as waiters. Eleanor didn't just admit her plans, she mapped them out detail by detail. Psychiatric holds, profit splits, the works. She walked out of that restaurant thinking she'd won. Marched straight to the annual HOA meeting, ready for her final act. The place was packed, standing room only, people whispering perfume and cheap cologne mixing with tension. Eleanor took the stage in a $3,000 suit, spinning stories about my violent paranoia, presenting charts and doctored police reports. Her star witness, a Dr. Kevin Sterling, stood up and called me a threat to the community. I let him finish. Then I stood from the back, calm as a tomb. Walked down the aisle, unplugged her laptop, plugged in mine, and said, "Let's see the real data." Slide 1. Eleanor's California tax liens, almost $400,000 unpaid. Slide 2. Her disciplinary record, fraud, lies, the works. Slide 3. Dr. Sterling's resume. Her broke brother-in-law, failed actor, never been to med school. Eleanor tried to scream. Mrs. Higgins blocked her exit. I played the audio file. Everyone heard her plotting to have Arthur committed so she could flip my land. Then the doors burst open, FBI and badges out, handcuffs shining. Eleanor didn't even reach for her purse before she was flanked, marched out past the neighbors. She'd fooled the veteran. She'd insulted her psychiatrist, sobbing as they cuffed him, too. As she passed me, her glare could have melted steel. I just raised my coffee cup in salute. Eleanor pled guilty to 14 federal counts, got 10 years, lost everything, the house, the car, her license. Her brother-in-law did 4 years for fraud. The HOA board resigned that night, and Mrs. Higgins was elected president. First act, enshrine property rights. Second, a formal apology to my family. But the real closure didn't come from any courtroom. 6 months later, I was back on my dock. Leo beside me, a group of disabled vets fishing from the new platform we built with settlement money. The air smelled like barbecue and pine, not desperation. My reputation was restored. Ironically, property values soared. People wanted to live somewhere you actually couldn't get bullied out of your home. The best part, we started the Silas Vance Memorial Scholarship so kids who love the land as much as my granddad did could protect it long after I'm gone. You know, Eleanor tried to steal a legacy to save herself. In the end, she guaranteed that it would never be lost. Funny how that works, but it does make you wonder. How far should you let a bully go before you strike back? Was it right to let her dig her own grave, or cruel? Is justice really just the last person standing, or is it something deeper? What would you do if someone tried to erase your family's story just for a quick buck? I want to hear your take. Where do you draw the line between standing up for yourself and letting karma do the work? Drop your thoughts below, or if you've ever tangled with power-hungry neighbors, tell us your story. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, because next week, well, let's just say it involves a neighbor who claimed he owned the air above my driveway. Stay safe and protect what matters.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video của mình.